Disney's Port Orleans Riverside is beautiful and huge, but it's also proof that bigger isn't always better. Some people love this hotel and those royal rooms, but some people think this is the worst hotel in Disney World. Let's find out who's right. Hey everybody, it's Chris for AllEars TV and AllEars.net. We're working our way through Disney World's hotels to decide which hotels are the best and the worst and which ones are perfect for you. Today we're talking about Port Orleans Riverside, and we got this info straight from you, and well, the cast has some heavy opinions as well. There are two sides to Port Orleans Resort in Disney World, and today we're talking about Riverside. Port Orleans Riverside and French Quarter are connected by the Sassagoula River, and together they are actually the largest resort in Disney World by rooms, with 3,000 rooms in total. Riverside is the second largest resort in Disney World, and the theme is Old South along the Mississippi River. Think large mansions with large oak tree-lined walkways.
Port Orleans Riverside, for me, is more in the middle in regards to all the rest of the resorts. It's a very pretty resort. You truly feel like you have left Florida and you are now in Louisiana, in deep Old South. There's big white columns on the buildings. The railings are very nice. All of the trees right next to the river. You feel like you are in Louisiana. Even if you've never been to Louisiana before, that is what it looks like. That's what it feels like. So Disney did a really good job with the theming. The resort is a little bit bigger. You're gonna do a little bit more walking than maybe what you've been used to in the past.
I really like the size. It's not so large that I feel overwhelmed, but it's not so small that you feel like cramped together with other guests. I think it has some really fun food offerings. Another thing I really like about this resort is the royal guest rooms. They're so nice. Tiana is welcoming you. You get to see different bits of princesses sprinkled throughout the room. It's very special. Even for an adult like me, I think it's got awesome and fun theming, especially if you're a little kid. You're gonna think it's amazing. And also just the vibes. I think the vibes are immaculate. Very chill, very relaxed. I would just walk around there all day if I could.
Riverside has a number of buildings that are quite spread out, so you could find yourself walking a distance to your room from the main lobby. Along with all of the on-site amenities, including lots of dining, you can also take the Sassagoula River Cruise to Port Orleans French Quarter or Disney Springs for even more fun. Average rooms cost between $300 and $500, so you're paying a bit more than a typical hotel room.
Port Orleans Riverside is definitely your middle of the road price range. It's definitely not, we're not looking at, Riviera or Grand Floridian, those kind of crazy high prices. Also, but it is a little more expensive than, Pop Century or what have you. It's definitely middle of the road prices. And these rooms are maybe, I'm gonna say it. Oh no, I'm gonna say it. These rooms are probably my least favorite on property. They're just really basic. It screams hotel room. I know that's a weird thing to say because it is a hotel room, but obviously when you're staying at Disney, you're expecting, especially for a middle of the road, price range, not even on the cheaper side, you're expecting just a little more flair, and it just feels very like this is a hotel room. This is what you're staying at. It is a little rustic, which is not my favorite thing. Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm just not a rustic guy.
Port Orleans Riverside is a moderate resort, so you are getting kind of moderate pricing, which for Disney World is still expensive. However, it's not going to be nearly as expensive as the deluxe resorts, which are often in the 500 plus range per night. For Riverside, you also are going to get easy access to Disney Springs through a boat that will take you over there, and that in itself is a huge, huge perk.
Dining options include Riverside Mill Court for fast casual food, the River Roost Bar for some adult libations, including entertainment like Yeehaw Bob Jackson, he's a must-see, grab a cocktail at Muddy River's Bar poolside, or visit Boatwright's Dining Hall for some southern Louisiana cooking. If none of this sounds good, you're just a short walk to the sister resort, French Quarter, for even more dining there, plus those Mickey beignets at Scat Cat's Cafe.
Riverside has a lot of food options, and they have good food options in my opinion. My number one is gonna have to be the Boatwright Dining Hall. That is Riverside's gem. I mean, absolute gem, like chef's kiss of a table service. And what really stands out to me there, well, jambalaya. You're in New Orleans. You're literally at Port Orleans, like, of course, the jambalaya. It's such a standout to me. It's so amazing, especially if you enjoy jambalaya. It's not gonna be the perfect homemade edition, of course, it's still Disney World food, but it's pretty darn good. One thing I think Riverside is missing, unfortunately for me, beignets. I know they're only a short walk away, but if I'm at Riverside, how nice would it be to just be like, a beignet, please?
Over at Boat Rides, you can get some Southern and New Orleans style food. So that means you're gonna have your options of fritters, jambalaya, just some really rich, interesting, and delicious dishes.
Okay, so what do All Ears readers think? An anonymous reader described Riverside as very relaxing, beautiful, and have wonderfully themed princess rooms. The Disney Springs boat rides and the easy walk to the beignets make this moderate resort one of my favorites.
The outdoor areas are I think are lovely. It's all based off of like Mississippi Bayou vibes. They've got the mill. They've got that like weird water turning like that mill on the outside that I'm always like, is this water really doing anything? Like, is this actually powering something? I can't tell.
This resort is very pretty, it's very beautiful, it's very well themed. You feel like you're in Louisiana while you're walking around. It is bigger, so you're gonna do a little bit more walking than what you've been probably used to if you're coming from like value resorts. But it's very pretty, it's very relaxing walking right next to the river. You could take a boat to Disney Springs, which I think is really nice. It's not necessarily close to any other parts of Disney World, so that could be a con. You're gonna have to take a bus to get to the parks, which can take a little bit.
It is a mill. Riverside Mill, I was right. It is a mill. You're welcome.
On the flip side, reader Heidi Ho said, very well-themed resort. It is a lot bigger than you think, so walking places may be further than you anticipate looking at a map. And reader Disney Dan Fam17 said, the only downside was the transportation. We just wish there was something else besides the buses to get to the parks. The lines got very long for the bus in the morning. Otherwise, a great resort.
Even though I do like the vibes and I don't feel like the hotel is overwhelming, it's gonna take you time to walk around that resort. It is still bigger. You might get a little lost. Sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. So we really recommend checking out the map, looking at places you're gonna walk, where you're gonna need to go, because it's pretty large. And sometimes the buses are like over here and you're like over here. So it might take you a while to walk around.
Now, it's important to keep in mind that the internal bus loop could also go over to French Quarter, so it could end up taking you a little while. So make sure that you are adding in that extra time when you're going to the parks in the morning.
Port Orleans Riverside Pros. It's a beautiful resort that is reasonably priced with spacious rooms. The cons? The buildings are spread out and there's limited transportation with a long internal bus loop. Still not sure? Let's get some final thoughts.
Overall, I think Port Orleans Riverside is a really good option if you're looking for a hotel in the moderate category. It's very well themed, it's spread out, it's very relaxing. I love the River Roost Lounge with Yeehaw Bob. He is so much fun. Spacious rooms. I think for what you're paying for, you're getting a pretty good deal.
I really enjoy the space. I really enjoy the vibes. I think it is a stunning and beautiful resort, which sometimes that means a lot to people. I think it's also very reasonably priced. I did choose to stay here when I was still heavily balling on a budget. I mean, I'll be balling on a budget for the rest of my life. But I mean, when I was really balling on a budget, I still stayed here and I loved it. I really liked it. And the rooms are spacious, especially if you have those younger kiddos. I think the Royal Guest Rooms are a really fun experience, one that they'll remember when they're older.
Overall, if I'm going to choose one of the Port Orleans, the beignets are gonna make me choose French Quarter. But I think that Riverside is popular for a reason. I think both the Port Orleans are some of the most popular, most beloved of the moderate resorts. And that's because you're getting fairly good pricing for Disney World, again, for Disney World. Really great theming at both and some fun dining options as well. So that's something to keep in mind. You really can't go wrong with booking either of the Port Orleans resorts.
Unfortunately, I think Port Orleans Riverside is not the place that you will find me at. I've been there before. I've had family stay there, and I can see that there are a lot of great things to it. However, I think for the elevated Disney experience that you're after, to get, my personal opinion, I know I'm not saying that everything needs to be Disneyfied. I'm just saying that there just needs to be an elevated level to it, and the rooms just feel very basic. Like this is the room you're gonna go to bed in and then get up and then go. Which again, if you're spending from morning until evening in the parks, that's fine, totally fine. But if you're looking for an elevated resort experience, I would choose something else.
If you're still curious about Riverside, you're not quite convinced either way if you should stay there or not, go check out our website at AllEars.net. We have reviews on every single hotel, every single restaurant, anything that you could ever need to plan your Disney vacation. We've got it for you, and it's not just our opinions, it's other viewers at home, other people who have stayed in these resorts, other people who have eaten at these restaurants and had their Disney experiences. They're sharing them with you so that you can make a better decision for your family and your vacation.
Port Orleans Riverside. If you like being close to Disney Springs and beignets, it might be a good fit for you. But if you want more transportation options and a shorter bus commute, you probably want to choose a different hotel. How do you feel about it? Of course, keep in mind that what's good for one person might not be good for you, but that's why we research and review to help you make the best decision for you. Want more opinions? Do a search on AllEars.net for Port Orleans Riverside. You're going to be blown away by the info you find. For the rest of you, how would you vote? Let us know in the comments. This is Chris for AllEars.net. See you next time.